Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to Talk 4X, a quickfire branch of the Talk 4 podcast where I, Louis Scupian, bring on experts to discuss current news topics and breaking news. So let's see what we've got today. So this has just come in. In 2022, two Russian SU-27s locked up a UK RAF RC-135 surveillance plane flying over the Black Sea and fired two missiles, one of which missed and the second of which malfunctioned and fell from the wing, either by malfunction or an abort. Russia claimed it was a technical malfunction at the time, which the UK publicly accepted. We thought that was the end of it. New information from intercepted communications revealed that the SU-27 pilot received unclear and badly worded information from the ground and intentionally attempted to shoot the plane down, despite his wingman going crazy at him and a fight breaking out over it. Shit show. The reality of this incident was hushed up to prevent escalation and has just come to light. The communication that led the pilot to fire was something along the lines of, "You have the target." It's weird. It's really weird, man. Joining me today to discuss this is a good friend who's a Top Gun graduate fighter of the adversary Red Course. We've been flying together, and he's truly just a master of his craft and the industry. Whiz, how's it going, man? And what's been new since we discussed bear bombers flying a little too close to the UK?
Yeah, I'm good, my brother. Everything's great here on the other side of the pond. My son Jack, who you met, my middle son Jack, he's at CU Boulder with Coach Prime. So that's like all the rage in the United States right now is Colorado football. But no, everything's great. Foundation's going well. We're hoping to hold our first retreat here in the United States at the end of October in Colorado, because Colorado is one of the states, or two states, Oregon and now Colorado, where psychedelic assisted therapy is now legal. So instead of going to Costa Rica, going to Mexico, we're going to start healing our heroes at home. So looking forward to doing that at the end of October. But no,
Well,
everything's
yeah.
good.
Nice, man. So, yeah, great stuff, Jack, and proud of you, man. This is great. I'm so glad to hear it, and it's all going in the right direction, which is always just, it's great for me to see. So, yeah, proud of you, man. But okay, look, let's kick it off with this crazy story then. So, kick it off. Can
Yeah.
you try to explain to us why that pilot would try to shoot down that plane off the back of just "you have the target," and what does that say about the level of unprofessionalism in Russia's Air Force and the rules of engagement that they have versus our own? Or do you think maybe this is just a trigger happy, unhinged pilot who's just looking to plop something out the sky?
Bro, I have absolutely no idea about any of this because it's insanity. It makes no sense to me, right? So let's just start unpacking it. Before you get airborne, at least let's talk about NATO, the United States, all our allies here. There's a weapons status, right? Before you get airborne, you kind of have SA, right? Situational awareness as to what is going on. Are we at war? Are we not at war? Are we at peace? So you have kind of, some SA about what the hell's going on in the world, not just I'm going to get airborne and randomly smoke and, a rivet joint in RC-135 and kill 30 people in international airspace. That makes zero sense to me. I don't understand it. So first of all, getting airborne on that mission that day, was the briefing, holy crap, we're almost at war? Or, it's just kind of ops normal. We're playing cat and mouse. The Brits, the US are all kind of out there, listening in on everything we're doing. Standard shit. Normal brief, just go up and escort them and hang out. So I'm assuming that's kind of what it was. The next thing, reading all these reports about this is the ground controllers might have, garbled or confused. There is absolutely no way on God's green earth there should be any confusion. If you listen to an air-to-air engagement, here at Top Gun or the United States or anything like that, man, if you say one word wrong, like during the debrief, you're going to be ripped to shreds, right? We have very standardized communication, so there is no uncertainty. And oh, by the way, when it comes to, moving your finger and evaporating people and taking them out of the gene pool, if something isn't clear, you ask to repeat or clarification or confirmation. So at least in our country and our NATO allies, there is zero room for, nothing is, something isn't clear. So let's just keep walking down how insane this is. So And then, yeah, I read the same reports that, the wingman's kind of jumping on the radio like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Or something like that. So, to steal a quote from The Hunt for Red October, is this a crazy Ivan? Right. So maybe this was just a dude who was out to try and start World War III on his own. Makes zero sense to me. I don't understand it.
That's
Now,
crazy, man.
yeah, let's get into the missiles. So thousands and thousands of hours flying tactical fighter jets. I fired air-to-air missiles. I fired a couple of heat seekers. I fired a Sparrow, which is a radar-seeking missile. I get that Soviet, and I'll use the term Soviet because they're back. It's not necessarily Russia, man. They're back to being the old Soviet Union. I get it that their technology is known to suck, but a flanker, an SU-27 and their missiles can't be that shitty. So a couple things. If they were WVR, within visual range, which it sounds like they were, they could see the RC-135. And again, let's go back to, I don't understand. The dude knows it's an intelligence gathering aircraft. It's got 30 people on board. It's unarmed, and it sounds like they're not that dumb that they're not going to be in international airspace, right? So you're not going to give the Russians or the Soviets an excuse to shoot you down. You're going to make sure you are where you're supposed to be. So it's not like the dude mistook that for a B-52 or, a B-1 or something like that. But anyway, if they're within visual range, the heat seekers, the atolls or whatever this thing was carrying, if he fired a heat seeker, as soon as that thing comes off the rail, it's hot. You ain't cutting that, so to speak. You're not stopping that missile. It comes off, kind of like a pit bull, literally. It's going to go and kill. Now, if he fired a radar missile, it sounds like they sucked, or they both sucked. Again, if you're that close and you're firing a radar missile, most likely that thing is going to come off what we call active, right? There are some missiles where if you're really far out at range, I'm illuminating the jet or my target with my radar, and I'm sending that data to that missile. So we're talking for a while until the missile goes, I got it, dude. I don't need you anymore, Whiz. I'm on my own. But when you're that close, as it sounds like they are, and you fire a radar missile, that thing can come off what we call active. I don't need you anymore. I got my own little radar in the front of this missile, and I got it. So there are times where we can like cut a missile, but if you're that close, the thing comes off active and should hit the target. So I don't know what we chalk this up to, man. Shitty Russian hardware. Now to, my brother Slider and some of these other guys that flew Tomcats, they carried what was called a Phoenix, an air-to-air missile that, man, that thing had, it had some range on it. But we used to call those things Feeny bombs. I remember on one of my cruises, our F-14 squadron, they were going to do a missile shoot, and the guy, like, Fox 3 squeezes the trigger, and the thing just came off and went straight down into the Pacific. Never, the motor didn't even light, right? We're laughing. And the next one, all right, well, let's try the other one. Fox 3, and the thing just kept dropping. And all of a sudden it pointed up, and then the rocket fired, and it looks like it was almost going to hit the Tomcat. So kind of funny, but not funny. But I'm bringing that up because the Phoenix missiles had been sitting in crates for, fill in the blank, a couple decades. So I don't know how old these missiles were. Maybe that was part of it. But if you're the Russians, thank God neither of them worked, and you better go back to the drawing board because both of them should have worked, right? So if you're a Russian general, you got to be looking at that going, okay, well, thank God they didn't work, and then where's the people who made these? Let's have them executed, right? So that's my take, man. It's absolutely confusing to me. I have zero. I'm stunned. I have no idea how else to explain any of this. It makes no sense.
Man, I gotta just, I'm due a belly laugh because honestly, I'm trying to picture this right now. Like, imagine you're in this jet and you got this 40 by 42 meter plane, and you're in a fighter jet, man, and you clack off a missile, it misses. And you're already feeling like, oh my God, I'm never going to live this down. And then the next one just drops off of your wing.
Well,
it's hilarious.
Well, this will, if you think that's funny, this is even funnier. The guy's a pussy, right? If you're within visual range and you're in a fighter jet and you're looking at some big airliner looking military plane, dude, gun the shit out of them. You got a Gatling gun, baby. Go Wild West and fill that thing full of lead. I mean, if you shot 2 missiles and neither of them fired and you still wanted to kill that thing, maybe the guy didn't have bullets that day, but clearly if you're launching on an air-to-air mission in a fighter jet, I've never launched without bullets in the nose, right? We got in the Hornet, we carried a full 500 and whatever, 18 rounds, 600 rounds, whatever it was. But there was enough in there to shoot something down with the gun. So I don't get it. So maybe after hosing off 2 missiles and your wingman or your flight lead, I don't know if this was the lead or the wingman. I don't know who was in command, right? The story gets even worse if he was the wingman and doing this type of crazy shit, and the lead's yelling at him over the radio like, dude, what are you doing? Stop firing. If anything, if this happened to me, I would have turned into my buddy and I would have shot him down, man. I mean, because this could have started literally, this could have started World War III. If you all, I don't know if it was a NATO crew, it was all Brits. If you killed 30 British service personnel by shooting them down, dude, I can't even, I mean, my God, dude, that is an act of war. I don't know how you all would have responded. And then obviously you're our brother in NATO and we would have been standing next to you. So holy shit, the Russians literally had to be on their knees going, thank God that did not happen. Maybe this guy, like I'm telling you, man, maybe he was Crazy Ivan. He wanted to, do that to start this shit. But man, I'm at a loss for words. I read this stuff. I'm on a forum on Facebook called OFP, Old Fighter Pilots. So all of us old slack-jawed dudes with beards and gray in it now. Nobody can explain it. So I don't know if there's more to this. It sounds like the mod accepted their apology and stuff like that and has no further comment. I just don't get it, man. But if I ever met this dude, I'd be like, what a wuss, man. First of all, you couldn't get it done and you had a gun and you didn't use it. I mean, thank God he didn't use his gun, but I don't, if he really wanted to shoot this thing down, he could have done it. And at the end of the day, you ready for this? If you shoot 2 missiles and they don't work and you don't have bullets in the nose, if you had any balls, dude, and you really wanted to do it, you would have rammed the jet. So he didn't do any of those. So I don't get it, man. I'm at a loss for words. And this one definitely goes up on the board as, what the fuck? I have no idea what happened.
It's just so weird, isn't it? Like, I mean, if you're that guy, surely you'd be firing off a Fox 2 and you'd just blow it out the sky, not with all the radar stuff. And then, like you said, you would just gun it. I mean, it's a giant balloon in the sky compared to those things. Like, you should be able to just laser through it, basically. And I mean, that's just the start of it. I mean, why that even happened in the first place is just, I mean, who are these pilots?
I don't. It makes no sense to me, man. If you had a gun, you could fly close. You could take turns shooting off each motor. I mean, that's if you're that bored and you really want to take this thing down. So I don't get it, man. I don't know if he had a mental episode or what was going on, but I'd love someday this has got to come out. Somebody somewhere is going to, some CIA stuff's going to dig into this. This is what, not to reveal sources and methods, but this is what Top Gun's all about. I guarantee you there's dudes in windowless rooms with the air conditioning on full blast digging into this shit. And obviously that rivet joint was listening to everything those dudes were saying. So we have all the communication. And that's what's funny is I know the NATO and the mod aren't kind of releasing everything. So that's why we're all still a little confused. I mean, I guarantee you they know when this guy landed, if he was arrested, executed, or given a medal, and they're not telling us. So it's interesting. I think something like this that potentially could have resulted in World War III. I think they like to kind of keep as quiet as possible and move along like it never even happened, because this would certainly inflame tensions. I mean, could you imagine being on that air? Could you imagine being married to somebody who was on that plane and you just found out about this today? Like, you were almost shot down and World War III started and you didn't even tell me. So I don't think the mod's too happy that this got out, but they're doing what they can to kind of, hey, everything's fine. And they apologize. So move along. What do you move along? we almost, that could have resulted in a nuclear exchange, man. You have no idea.
Jesus Christ, man. Well, until we know for sure, should we just put it
Yeah.
down to cocaine before flying fighter jets don't mix? Something like that. Right,
All the
man.
above, man. It's crazy Ivan.
Right.
That's what
So
I'd chalk it up to the Hunt for Red October, man. It's crazy Ivan. It was a rogue. It was a rogue pilot, man.
mm,
That should scare the shit out of everybody, to be
yeah,
honest with you, man. So,
absolutely. I mean, it just
I mean, do
raises
they?
questions, doesn't it? Like, why are they? Is there any like mental evaluation for these guys going into their air force? It's crazy, right?
I don't get it, man. I at the end of the day, did this guy just have a mental episode when he landed? He was arrested, type of thing. You would, you know what? And maybe that's what happened. And the mod ain't telling us, because great, now we have crazy Russian pilots flying around, or crazy Russians at the controls of nuclear weapons or something. And World War III is literally a crazy person away.
Mm.
That might actually be closer to the truth of why the mod and people are kind of asking us to move along from this thing. They apologize. Let's forget about it. They apologized for almost starting World War III, and you're not giving us any more details. There's a lot more to this, because if there isn't, it's bad.
Yeah.
So
It's scary, man. So
yeah.
third part of this, something that kind of piqued my interest slightly as well, was the reports say that the two pilots had a big argument after the guy fired the first missile, and despite the wingman telling him not to do it, he still tried again. So I'm interested, is there any dual decision making between wingmen in launch decisions, or is it truly an independent thing? Because like from what I've seen and what I've heard, like when you fire a nuke, the two guys in the air conditioned room, you're waiting for the order, on D-Day, and those two guys have to simultaneously concur, right? Is that the same for kind of clacking off a missile, or that could start a
No.
war basically?
Nope. You are an independent in a single seat fighter jet. You're it. I mean, in the Hornet, you have a master arm switch. You put it to arm and you squeeze. It's all on you. I remember sitting whenever we pulled into the Persian Gulf. The aircraft carrier was leaving. They'd come over for a couple days and give us a brief of, hey, what's been going on, and also the JAG, the Judge Advocate Generals, the attorneys would give us a brief, right? I remember sitting in these like hours long briefs from these booger eating attorneys, right, about when you can shoot and this and everything. But at the end of the day, I was the smart ass guy in the room. I'm like, so what you're saying is it comes down to the guy in the cockpit. I signed for the jet. I am ultimately responsible for everything, whatever I do. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, you just wasted hours of my, So in fighter aircraft, it's not like you need somebody on the ground to hit enter for your missile to come off. You are an independent fighter pilot in that aircraft with weapons release authority, either air to air or air to ground. So ain't nobody on the ground. Your wingman can be screaming at the radio, at you, or the guy on the ground screaming at you not to fire, and it doesn't matter. You're on your own.
Yeah. Well, man, it's crazy stuff. But last question. Obviously, one of the striking factors about this is that this is all kind of coming out now, but this happened in 2022. Like we're in 2023
Exactly.
now, and stuff is worse. It's a lot worse. So theorize with me quickly. If something like this happened again around this stage now, or kind of over the months to come, or even if one of our guys had some kind of a, whatever that was, how bad do you think that's going to be?
Man, when I read about this and heard about this, I actually went through my, mental flow chart of what the response would have been. I'm stunned. I mean, do we go to World War III? It's scary, because if you do go through the flow chart of if this happened, that happened. I mean, what do you do? Hey, sorry, one of our crazy pilots did that. Here's 30, UK flags and 30 funerals, but obviously we're not going to go to World War III over it. I can't even imagine this. So you're right. It happened. And the fact that it happened, it was that crazy, and we're just now finding out about it should tell you something, right? That means both sides were like, holy shit, we avoided horror, because you guys would have been like, are you kidding me? We just got punched in the face. Do something. What's the do something? Now we're in Ukraine and we're invading, Russia. Tom Clancy, game on, or bro, I don't even know. I can't even tell you this. So maybe that's what the Brits said on the back radio to the to the Russians is like, dude, thank God this didn't happen, because if it does, now it's game on. So, bro, I can't even game this out, man, as to what the future looks like if something like this did happen. Is it a pretext and excuse to go, okay, well, now you attack NATO, now it is game on? But at the end of the day, man, people keep forgetting this. We are dealing, I can't even believe I'm talking about this. There's war in Europe. I feel like my dad, right? My dad was born, like, holy shit, there's war in Europe, and it's with a nuclear armed power. So, whenever I give my live trade briefs at Top Gun Options and I talk about this, I end every section of that brief with, it's going to get worse. Every time I said that happens. This is war, man. War should be, first of all, it should be the last thing ever on the face of the planet. And it should be violent, and it should be quick. It should be so violent that everybody goes, holy shit, we need to stop this. But this death by 1,000 cuts, and we're half pregnant, and tit for tat, and drones this, drones that, man, I'm at a loss for words. I have no idea where this thing is going at the end of the day, but I will end it with this. It's going to get worse. Let me say this real quick. September 11th, a couple days ago, 22nd anniversary of this country being attacked. That same day, it's reported in America that the Biden administration has given $6 billion to the mullahs in Iran to free, I think it was 5 Americans. Yay for the 5 Americans and their families. They're free. Boo for fucking the rest of the United States and the world. We just gave $6 billion to a country we say is a terrorist sponsor and kills Americans. And here's the Biden administration. No. They promised that it's only going that the only money will be used for humanitarian purposes. The mullah got on TV and he's like, we're going to use it for whatever the hell we want to use it for. You can kiss our ass. Here's what they're going to do with that $6 billion. Russia has asked Iran to build thousands of drones for them. So isn't this awesome? We give Iran $6 billion. They build a shitload of drones for Russia to use in Ukraine to kill Ukrainians. Ukrainians are going to demand more money from the United States. Circle of life, circle of stupidity. So this is horrible, man. I'm glad this didn't happen. But this happens in war. You get a trigger happy, insane dude, and it completely changes everything that's going on. I remember in Afghanistan, like, some idiots, I don't know if they were Marines or SEALs or something like that, posed with some dead Taliban dudes, or like, that were peeing on their dead bodies or whatever. And it was like, it almost caused the end of the world. So just one idiot at the end of the whip can change everything. So, doing psychedelic assisted therapy, man, old me would have swam across the Atlantic by now to kill as many Russians as possible physically. Now I'm like, stop, take a break, man. Take a couple days to go sit in a room with each other and go, what the fuck, can we figure something out? If you can't, keep killing each other, knock yourself out. But nobody's even saying stop. If you do, at least in our country, you're a Putin plant, you're a Russian sympathizer, you're a terror, you're anti-American. I'm like, I'm anti-American because I want peace, because I know shit like this can potentially happen. Some crazy dude hoses off a missile, shoots down a rivet joint, and we're all dead. So I don't know. That was a long-winded answer to your last question, but man, war is unpredictable. War is horrible, and it always, there's a famous Navy SEAL saying, it's going to get worse before it gets worse, and that's where we are. So thank God this wasn't worse. But who's to say something like this doesn't happen? And you and I can't even get on a podcast because we're all fucking in a glass parking lot glowing. So let's hope for the best, man. I pray for peace, but it doesn't look like it's coming anytime soon, because war is good for business, isn't it?
Yeah, man, it's really scary stuff. And I'm gonna say a silent prayer now for a podcast one day, hopefully in the nearest future possible, where I have you on the podcast and it doesn't end with it's gonna get worse. Because dude, that's never a good sign, right?
I want to be wrong about this. I love being wrong because usually when I am predicting horrible stuff, I don't want it to come true. So I'll be the first one to go, dude, you were wrong. I'll admit that, but doesn't feel like I'm wrong, man. I've been right all the way along with this Ukraine thing, and it's going to get worse. But let's pray it doesn't.
Damn. Well, man, thanks again for another masterclass. You're a legend. Give us some social media stuff, podcasts, things to promote,
Yeah, man.
and so our guys can get more of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Follow me on Instagram, official_Whiz Buckley. The second largest amount of followers I have are from Lagos, Nigeria. So I got there's a lot of fake Whiz Buckley Instagram accounts out there. So it's official_Whiz Buckley. And then you can check out the Max Afterburner podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, iHeart, wherever cool kids listen to podcasts. You can find the Max Afterburner podcast. And all of those are posted also on the No Fallen Heroes YouTube page. If you're interested, the one that we did this week is with Daniel Carcillo, 2-time Stanley Cup champ. Horrific head trauma from being an NHL player, found psychedelics, did ayahuasca, healed his brain, healed his life. So check out the most recent podcast with Car Bomb. He's a great dude, and it saves and changes lives. So good seeing you, my brother, and thanks for having me.
Amazing, man. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. This has been a great one, and just do the usual stuff. Leave a like, leave a comment. Do me the honor of subscribing because there's loads of good stuff coming. And stay tuned for the next episode. Fights on. See you next time, and good night.